Another day, another story about how scary the government spooks have become. So, new documents leaked by Edward Snowden and coming out from The Guardian detail how government spy agencies in the US and in the UK were looking at people's cameras. And so the operation was called Optic Nerve. I do have to give the agencies credit for coming up with some badass names for their programs. So anyway, Optic Nerve, there was a 6-month period back in 2008 where they captured 1.8 million users, and they captured them through their webcam, through their cameras, without the user ever knowing it. And of course, yes, some people were sitting there butt-ass naked. And so they took these pictures and dumped them into their databases, even though these people have not committed any crime. The only crime they committed was using their webcam or having a webcam. So they then had their images ran through facial recognition software. Now, this was the headlines just a couple of days ago, was that they did this to millions of innocent people. And so anyway, also buried in the headlines that didn't get quite as much attention was also the fact that they were also talking about other devices, including Microsoft's Xbox 360 Kinect. So what the agencies said was that Kinect was being used for regular webcam usage, and so anyway, they had said it was under evaluation. Now, there is no documents, and all the stories that I read made note of this, that there was no proof that they had ever captured any images from the Kinect. They knew they had captured them from the webcams from computers, but they didn't know or have any documentation on the Kinect, and they just listed it as evaluation. Now, Microsoft came out and they said this is very concerning. Yahoo, of course, said the same thing, and both said they had no idea or have heard anything about this program, and they've been fighting for months or saying stuff publicly that the public needs to get together to come in to rein in these programs, or get the government to rein them in. So this is really creepy stuff, if you ask me. There's always people in the comment section too who are like, I don't care, I ain't doing nothing wrong. Well, shit, I'm not doing anything wrong either. That's not the point. The point is, if you read history and you know your history, then you can understand privacy, and you understand how important it is, and you understand why we actually have a very specific clause in the Constitution about privacy. The revolution, in part, was fought over privacy. The king had put out a tax stamp on items that were brought in to anybody's homes if you lived in the US, if you were a colonist. So you had to have this stamp on all your items, and it was everything that was brought in. It could be furniture, it could be paper to write on, it could be books, it could be anything. It had to have a stamp on it. Well, the king wanted to make sure that the colonists were paying the tax. They wanted to make sure that they had the stamp on their items. So what they did was they passed a law that basically allowed soldiers to write their own search warrants. So a soldier could show up at your house, knock on the door, let himself in, they come in, troops all, look at everything. If that item doesn't have a stamp on it, maybe you even paid the tax, but you don't have the proof of it, well, they can confiscate it. They can just take it right from your house. So this is what the colonists were dealing with, and of course this was BS. Who wants, anybody coming into their home? This is your own private little castle. And when the government can look at you through your camera into your home to see you whenever they want to, whenever they can look at your email, your phone data, what you're buying, they can see more detail about you than what somebody would see if they did come into your home. By looking at somebody's phone bill, by looking at somebody's credit card statements, you can get a ton of information from that person. And it doesn't matter whether they're doing something bad or not. You know, all these people say, well, it's keeping me safe. Go read the damn stories. Go read all of the stories from the actual journalists, and even a lot of people in Washington have come out and even stated these programs haven't been shown to stop any terrorist act so far. And there's a lot of terrorism going on around the world. Hell, it didn't even stop Boston whenever the Russians even told us about the Boston massacre that was about to happen. So this idea that it's for your safety, step outside your little bubble, okay? The world is not perfect and not everything works in this little fairy tale world. Yes, there are a lot of good guys in the U.S., in the U.S. government, in the U.S. spy agencies trying to stop bad people. That is a fact. I am not damning or condemning everybody all in one broad stroke. But if you think this is simply just about terrorism, you are very naive. I'm not concerned about me personally. They wouldn't find out a whole lot about it. But that's not the point. There's other people that they would find out a lot about. People who have billions of dollars. People who own a lot of businesses around different parts of the world. People in high political places. People on the judge's bench. There are very important people that you have to make sure that whenever they're doing their job, they're doing it freely and they don't have a gun at the back of their head where somebody has some kind of information that they received from illegally, and they can basically blackmail these people. And this is what this is really about. I mean, it's about a lot of things, but I think that's one really huge, important fact. Who's really pulling the strings? And if you're not satisfied with American history or why we fought the American Revolution, then, you know, go back and study Germany. I'm sure they've got some history for you too when it comes to spying. Whoever's in office now, you know, maybe they are working for what's good, you know, if you want to put it in those types of terms. But you open up this Pandora's box and you let these people in, who knows what America looks like 20 years down the road, or who will be in charge, or what kind of people we will be facing who are in power. You know, things look like crap right now. And so, you know, I'm sorry, I'm not just ready to hand over the reins and say, take care of me, Daddy. Last time I checked, I think you have a better statistical chance of getting shot by a U.S. cop than you do being killed by a terrorist. So I would rather have my freedoms and have my privacy. That does for me, The Red Dragon. If you want to read more about it, links down below. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.